Well, welcome everybody. We hope that you can hear us and that there's no audio issues. We'll be checking the chat. So if there's any issues with seeing us or hearing us, then please just drop that in chat and we'll keep an eye on that. But welcome to the CAPS Sleep Wellness Workshop live stream. My name is Nick. I am one of the MWPEs.
And my name is Evelyn. I am another MWPE.
And before we get started, we just like to preface these workshops that this is not a form of therapy, meaning that we can't guarantee confidentiality. But as far as we go, we can promote privacy, meaning that what is said here will stay here or within the chat if it's shared there. So with that preface, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
So to start us off, some of our objectives. So today we'll learn how sleep impacts the mind and body. And then we're going to learn the physical and mental benefits of a good night's rest. And hopefully by the end of this, you can learn daily habits and strategies to improve your sleep.
So, with that in mind, let's start looking at sleep like a commodity and ask ourselves how much we would pay for something that could do all of this in front of us. How much would you pay for something that fights off and shortens colds and flus? Something that promotes creativity and helps with enhancing your memory and overall happiness? Something that decreases the experiences of depression and anxiety symptoms, something that lowers food cravings and helps us maintain a healthy weight, as well as making us overall more attractive, and something that gives you a longer life with a lower risk for diabetes, stroke, heart attacks, cancer, and dementia. That sounds like something that a lot of folks would pay a lot of money for. But you don't have to, because sleep is free. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and go over some of the sleep myths and facts that I'm sure many of us have heard at some point or another. And let's demystify some, but also see which ones are true. So the first one is, to function best, you need to get exactly 8 hours of sleep. And again, we're keeping an eye in the chat, so if you want to guess, feel free to put that there. But if no one's in the chat, then we'll go ahead and just move through these. So for the first one, that would be false. To function best, you don't necessarily have to get exactly 8 hours of sleep. This can look different for different individuals. To function best, perhaps someone might need 9 hours of sleep one night or 7.5 hours, something a little different than exactly 8 hours of sleep. And for our next prompt, if you can get it, more sleep is always healthier. Now, I know that I originally would have said that that is true, but through learning and research, I know that it's false now. So more sleep is not always healthier. It definitely can be if you aren't getting enough sleep, but having too much sleep can also be poor for our health as well because it makes us too sedentary. So for the next prompt, some people function perfectly on just 4 hours of sleep. Now, I would definitely guess that that's false personally. And it is, because 4 hours of sleep is nowhere near enough sleep for someone to function perfectly, even if the individual might not recognize how the lack of sleep has inhibited their functioning. It definitely does. For the fourth prompt, you can make up for lost sleep on weekends. That is actually false. So you can't let yourself only sleep, let's say, 4 hours a night all throughout the week, and then on the weekend just sleep the whole weekend, because that's not really a way to catch up on sleep. It's really just going from one drastic end to the other, which has even more negative effects and prevents us from creating a healthy and consistent sleep schedule. And the next prompt is that the older you get, the fewer hours of sleep you need. And that is actually false. So there is a lot of conversation around like, oh, younger folks, growing bodies need to get 8 hours of sleep or however much sleep to take care of their growth and their functioning. But even as we get older, we still need to maintain a healthy sleep schedule, and the amount of sleep we need doesn't decrease as we age. For the sixth prompt, a good workout in the evening will make you tired, so you'll fall asleep faster. That is true in moderation. You don't want to do a really strenuous workout super close to the time you're going to bed, or else it'll raise your heart rate and you might actually have a really hard time going to sleep. But if it's a light workout, maybe like a nice walk, something to help you calm down, or really light movement, maybe a little bit of yoga or stretching, that could be really nice before bed. 7, power naps can be restorative. So that is true in moderation. I'm sure many of us have had some restorative power naps, or maybe some power naps that make us feel really groggy after. Uh, the reason why it's true in moderation is because there is a sweet spot for how long you want a power nap to be, which we'll get into more later. And the last prompt is alcohol or marijuana helps you sleep. That's overall false. A lot of people may say that they utilize these substances to fall asleep. And while these substances may inhibit someone's functioning to the point that they can fall asleep, it doesn't help them get lasting sleep or sleep quality that they need to be getting.
Okay, so we're gonna go over the 5 stages of sleep. So in stage 1, this is where you're slowing things down and your muscle activity starts to slow down as well. And then as we move into stage 2, this is where the breathing and heart rate begins to slow down, as well as your body temperature starts to decrease slightly. And then as we're moving into stage 3, this is where deep sleep starts, and brain starts to generate delta waves. And as we're moving into stage 4, this is very deep sleep where the muscle activity is limited, and this is where your body feels heavy. And in stage 5, this is REM sleep. This is where brainwave speeds up and dreams occur, as well as heart rate increases. And we want to preference that these stages happen continuously throughout the night and sometimes can be interrupted. And yes.
So now let's transition into the benefits of sleep. They can be physical and mental. So I'll go over some of the physical benefits, and Evelyn will cover some of the mental ones. Physically, it can boost our immune system and help us fight off illness. And it also helps our body repair itself. And it will also help us increase our overall coordination and performance while maintaining a healthy body weight.
Okay, thank you for sharing some of the physical benefits. So now we're going to talk about some of the mental benefits. So sleep can help with clear thinking, improving concentration. So if you ever notice you're in class and getting a good night's rest could help you actually retain a lot of the information. So this could also help with mood enhancer and regulating your emotions, as well as a good stress reliever and increasing your ability to cope, as well as assistance for learning and memory. So this is very important to get your sleep for retaining a lot of the information that you're learning in your classes throughout the day.
Yes, thank you for covering those benefits. Now let's get into the impacts of sleep deprivation. Again, we'll both go over some different points in this graphic. Would you like to start with safety?
So we do notice that there are a lot of impacts of sleep deprivation. So, because of sleep deprivation, we notice that there's 6,000 fatal car crashes each year. And we notice that 1 in 25 adults that have fallen asleep at the wheel. And it is actually why we why we recommend that sleep is very important, because there are very fatal things that could happen like this, and we want to bring that awareness to your attention. Sorry, we want to bring attention to your awareness. Sorry about that. Okay, and then
Yes,
we're gonna
great point
move
though.
into um, some of the brain effects.
Mhm.
Let me see.
Sorry, we're kind of having a hard time seeing it when we're sharing the screen. It's a little zoomed out, but there's quite a few different impacts to the brain. I'll go ahead and cover this part here. So, as you can see, hopefully, there is a 33% increase in dementia risk. And there's other effects to the brain in that it will actually age our brain up to 3 to 5 years if we are consistently sleep deprived. And it may also increase our risk for uh, things such as depression, irritability, anxiety, forgetfulness, and foggy thinking. So, now let's go over some weight and health impacts as well.
So we do notice that there's 36% increase in risk for colorectal cancer, as well as having a less active immunity protectors called natural killer cells, and nearly 3 times risk for type 2 diabetes. And as we go lower into the demographic,
There is also a 48% increase for developing a form of heart disease
Mhm.
and a 3 times greater likelihood to catch a cold. So, as we see, sleep deprivation can impact all areas of our health, not just our brain, but our body as well. And speaking of our bodily health, to touch on weight, there is a 50% higher risk for obesity if you get less than 5 hours of sleep nightly. And when we are sleep deprived, there are higher levels of hunger hormones in our body and lower levels of appetite control hormones. So let's go ahead and continue into some measurable outcomes for poor sleep. According to the Williamson and Fayer study, it shows that there's no difference between these three experiences.
so we notice that 12 days with 6 hours of sleep is equivalent to no sleep for 24 hours, which is the same equivalency as being inebriated to zero point 0.1 BAC.
And with that in mind, let's go ahead and start identifying some of our own sleep patterns so we can think about how to have healthy sleep.
So we're going to ask, what is sleep hygiene? This is different habits and practices that may help increase sleep quality.
Now we're going to watch a short video on the benefits of a good night's sleep. And we'd like to invite you to keep something in mind that you like from this video.
It's 4 a.m., and the big test is in 8 hours, followed by a piano recital. You've been studying and playing for days, but you still don't feel ready for either. So what can you do? Well, you can drink another cup of coffee and spend the next few hours cramming and practicing. But believe it or not, you might be better off closing the books, putting away the music, and going to sleep. Sleep occupies nearly a third of our lives, but many of us give surprisingly little attention and care to it. This neglect is often the result of a major misunderstanding. Sleep isn't lost time, or just a way to rest when all our important work is done. Instead, it's a critical function. during which your body balances and regulates its vital systems, affecting respiration and regulating everything from circulation to growth and immune response. That's great, but you can worry about all those things after this test, right? Well, not so fast. It turns out that sleep is also crucial for your brain, with a fifth of your body's circulatory blood being channeled to it as you drift off. And what goes on in your brain while you sleep is an intensely active period of restructuring that's crucial for how our memory works. At first glance, our ability to remember things doesn't seem very impressive at all. 19th century psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus demonstrated that we normally forget 40% of new material within the first 20 minutes, a phenomenon known as the forgetting curve. But this loss can be prevented through memory consolidation, the process by which information is moved from our fleeting short-term memory to our more durable long-term memory. This consolidation occurs with the help of a major part of the brain, known as the hippocampus. Its role in long-term memory formation was demonstrated in the 1950s by Brenda Milner in her research with a patient known as HM. After having his hippocampus removed, HM's ability to form new short-term memories was damaged, but he was able to learn physical tasks through repetition. Due to the removal of his hippocampus, HM's ability to form long-term memories was also damaged. What this case revealed, among other things, was that the hippocampus was specifically involved in the consolidation of long-term declarative memory, such as the facts and concepts you need to remember for that test, rather than procedural memory, such as the finger movements you need to master for that recital. Milner's findings, along with work by Eric Kandel in the 90s, have given us our current model of how this consolidation process works. Sensory data is initially transcribed and temporarily recorded in the neurons as short-term memory. From there, it travels to the hippocampus, which strengthens and enhances the neurons in that cortical area. Thanks to the phenomenon of neuroplasticity, new synaptic buds are formed, allowing new connections between neurons and strengthening the neural network where the information will be returned as long-term memory. So why do we remember some things and not others? Well, there are a few ways to influence the extent and effectiveness of memory retention. For example, memories that are formed in times of heightened feeling or even stress will be better recorded due to the hippocampus's link with emotion. But one of the major factors contributing to memory consolidation is, you guessed it, a good night's sleep. Sleep is composed of 4 stages, the deepest of which are known as slow-wave sleep and rapid eye movement. EEG machines monitoring people during these stages have shown electrical impulses moving between the brainstem, hippocampus, thalamus, and cortex, which serve as relay stations of memory formation. And the different stages of sleep have been shown to help consolidate different types of memories. During the non-REM slow-wave sleep, declarative memory is encoded into a temporary store in the anterior part of the hippocampus. Through a continuing dialogue between the cortex and hippocampus, it is then repeatedly reactivated, driving its gradual redistribution to long-term storage in the cortex. REM sleep, on the other hand, with its similarity to waking brain activity, is associated with the consolidation of procedural memory. So based on the studies, going to sleep 3 hours after memorizing your formulas and 1 hour after practicing your scales would be the most ideal. So hopefully you can see now that skimping on sleep not only harms your long-term health, but actually makes it less likely that you'll retain all that knowledge and practice from the previous night. All of which just goes to affirm the wisdom of the phrase, sleep on it. When you think about all the internal restructuring and forming of new connections that occurs while you slumber, you could even say that proper sleep will have you waking up every morning with a new and improved brain, ready to face the challenges ahead.
So that's all for the video. We hope that everybody watching was able to pick out something they liked and be able to understand how sleep really works in our brain and our bodies a little better. So now we're each going to touch on some of these sleep habits and expand more on them. You might be able to relate to some of these.
Okay. Would you like to start?
I'll go ahead and do the left side and you do the right side.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So the first one is that it's important to fix bedtime and an awakening time. So having a consistent schedule with regular hours is really important for a good sleep habit.
Okay, so let's start here. So, light matters. Let's refrain from using a device before bed, such as your phone, tablet, or computer. So, this may look like replacing your phone with maybe a book instead.
And also remember to nap smart. So make sure to limit the length of our naps. We talked about it earlier, but power naps have like a sweet spot. Don't go over 30 to 45 minutes. And try eliminating or shortening your naps if you still have problems falling asleep at night.
And let's only sleep when we're tired. So, if you're not asleep after 30 minutes, get out of bed, get up, and do another activity.
And also, remember to learn to associate your bed with relaxation. We'll expand on it more later, but don't bring in other elements to your sleeping space.
And caffeine is not a friend of sleep. So, let's refrain from having caffeine late in the afternoon so we could get our good night rest.
Yes, thank you. So now we'll talk more about physical exercise. Exercising regularly, like taking brisk walks in the late afternoon, can actually really help your body become tired and get more sleep. But it's also important to remember that we don't want to do strenuous exercise right before bed, because if we do that within 2 hours of sleep, then it can decrease our ability to fall asleep and heighten our heart rate.
Okay, and now we're going to talk about your mind racing before bed. So, a lot of us often could experience this. So, brains do well with distraction at bedtime. So, this means let's do a boring read. So, reading a history book or something that you find boring could help you fall asleep. And counting sheep. Another good method is sleep meditation. This is something you could play from your phone off of YouTube and it's accessible. And distraction. So we have um, little combination that we would like to do just so you could help you sleep at night. So this would be distraction plus boredom plus fatigue would equal sleepiness. So all of our brains need downtime and some freewheeling throughout the day. If we don't do it during the day, our minds will race at night.
So now let's go for a bedtime routine. Everyone has some sort of bedtime ritual, even if it's not a full routine. It might be getting changed into pajamas. That could be part of a ritual. But here's some examples of what a bedtime ritual might look like. You could have some food, maybe some hot herbal tea, warm milk, or banana. Maybe you could take a bath or have a specific time that you go to bed, developing that consistent schedule. You could have a pre sleep exercise, like a gratitude exercise, maybe journaling. Relaxation practice, you can engage in deep breathing, listen to relaxation music, or engage in progressive muscle relaxation. I know a lot of folks also engage in meditation to wind down before bed. And it's also important to remember to leave your worries behind. Sleep is not a time for worry time. Laying in bed, just worrying about everything. It can feel hard and easier said than done, but it's important to start working on that so that it doesn't disrupt our sleep. And also our sleep position. Everyone has a different position that they might feel most comfortable in. So experimenting with those might really help out as well.
Okay, so now let's talk about your sleep environment. So not many of us may have all these things, but we do recommend that your sleep environment is important in what's around you. So, having a bed, a mattress, pillows, and linens could help you fall asleep, as well as temperature. Some people love having their room very cold at night to help them sleep. And let's limit the outside noises as well as the light and bring it to a minimum. And let's replace the TV and computer with monitors such as soft music, fan, or other white noise. A lot of people also like having ventilation, such as a humidifier, air purifier if you have allergies. And let's use our bed for sleep, sickness, or sex. We don't want to bring in outside factors to our bed because we want to associate these things with our bed as well as sleep.
So now we'll briefly touch on sleep practice discussion. Since we aren't seeing anything in the chat, we can't necessarily facilitate this discussion to the best of its ability, but these are really good things to consider. So it's important to consider your current practices. Some examples here being that maybe a current practice is that you go to bed and get up at the same time each day, or that if you take naps, you keep them short and before 5 p.m. And maybe a new skill that you want to develop could be keeping the bedroom a relaxing place and avoiding working or paying bills in your bed. Or maybe you choose not to lie in bed awake so that you aren't having racing thoughts, and you choose to change that process, however that might look for you. As we said, lying in bed awake can just become more frustrating, so doing a boring task might help with that. And these are just some good things to facilitate for sleep discussion practice in the future.
So here are some online sleep resources. We have cbtnightmares.org, and here is healthmit.edu. So feel free to look up these websites.
And now going over some of CAP's resources. We do have U.Fullerton. So through U.Fullerton, you can actually find out more information about sleep. It's an online wellness-based platform where you take a survey and answer questions so that you can be paired with articles that are pertinent to you and your experience and what you're looking for. Some examples of sleep activities you can find on you are things like counting sheep, how to succeed in sleep, conversations about difficulty sleeping, and also acknowledging sleep problems and how to reach out.
So now we're going to talk about compass.fullerton.edu. So this is a free resource and website. So feel free to scan the QR code. So a little bit about Compass is that if you're looking for places such as a food pantry, this will help guide you to off-campus and on-campus resources.
And feel free to pause and scan these QR codes for some PDFs and handouts for this workshop if you want to have some more accessible information about this without having to come back and watch the video. And now we'll briefly touch on CAP's resources. Something I do want to mention is that the graphic here in this workshop for our phone number says 627-278-3040. Our phone number is actually 657-278-3040. There was a typo in this page here. So just for reference, it is 657 instead of 627. But you will see a pretty extensive list of our services here, which we'll get into more on the next slide in our step model of care.
And to start us off, we are located in Titan Hall on the first floor. So right here in the blue of the bottom of the pyramid, we have all of our free online resources. that we went over. So we have our CAPS website and our social media. We have compass.fullerton.edu and u.fullerton.edu.
And then in our non-appointment based services, we have things like docu therapy, which is something that we host here on campus at least once a month, and it's a lot of fun. It's one of our most popular services. We do also have our wellness room with napping pods and massage chairs. We have therapy groups, case management, wellness coaching, and off-campus referrals as well. When it comes to more appointment-based services, we do have short-term therapy, some psychiatry services, single session therapy, and even massage therapy as well. However, with massage therapy, it is by referral only. And then we do also have our crisis-based services. So we have a mobile crisis unit and our 24-hour crisis support hotline. So that's why I touched on the phone number in the last slide, because it's super important. If you want to save that, it doubles as a crisis hotline.
And thank you for attending. So we have an anonymous survey evaluation that we would like you to scan and fill out. And feel free to follow us at CSUF Caps on Instagram.
Thank you. We appreciate everybody for attending.
Bye,
And thank
thank
you if you made it
you.
this far.